Throughout the entire history of RuneScape, there has been a lot of updates. When I say a lot, I really do mean a lot. When updates get pushed out on a near-weekly basis, a few don't always make the cut. This list compiles just 10 of those updates that got announced but never fully released. Number 10. Mammoths. The mammoths that you see today are actually a result of a cancelled update being reused. Mammoths were originally supposed to launch all the way back in 2004. The update was described as a large frozen lands area that would include penguins, mammoths, polar bears, and more. Although these areas did get created, mammoths were never added to them, despite a model actually already being made for them. The model used in Old School today is actually the exact same model from 2004, which is probably why they look so strange. Number 9. Lizard Man. Another unreleased NPC that kind of got released eventually, but not exactly. You'll see what I mean in a minute. Anyway, the model for these lizard men were added to the game's cache in the RuneScape 2 beta. It managed to stay in the game's cache for over half a decade, as it wasn't removed until 2011. Before its creation, lizard men were actually mentioned in the original 2001 announcement that RuneScape membership would be available soon. Andrew Gower said it was going to be one of the first members-only updates. As you already know, that didn't happen. In a 2011 statement, Paul Gower explained that Jagex didn't really have any desire to develop them because they'd look too similar to the Dragonkin. Just 3 years after that statement, though, the Illuyanka? I wrote this thing. I wrote out the pronunciation in the script just so I'd be able to say it right, but this is not working. So the thing you're seeing on screen now was released. Old School kept things a little bit simpler with the release of Zaya, and released creatures with the same name as the original, Lizardmen. These can be found in the Lizardman Canyon and Settlement, and they actually offer some pretty valuable drops. An example of this is the Shamans are able to drop the Dragon Warhammer, which is currently worth at around 70 million GP. Number 8. Carpentry. Carpentry was basically Classic's version of construction. Carpentry first appeared on the stat screen for RuneScape Classic, but there was no actual way to train it. When agility was added, Carpentry got removed on the high scores list as well as the skills menu. Originally, you were going to be able to buy the empty houses seen on the east side of Falador, as well as this area in Varrock that was added and then removed. Players would be able to use the Carpentry skill to customize these houses. Classic started exploding in popularity, and soon after, there was not enough space for every player to have a house. Number 7. God Wars Dungeon Underwater Passage. Anyone who's gone to the God Wars Dungeon before has probably seen this river. The river is used as a barrier to get to Zamorak's fortress, and requires 70 hit points due to how cold the water is. This section was originally going to be a lot different than just simply crossing a river. Instead, you were going to have to swim through this underwater section that you're seeing on screen now. It's filled with things like fish bones, human skeletons, and narrow corridors. This creepy area was sadly abandoned as the dungeon's release drew closer. It would have taken way too much time to finish, so it was replaced with the river you see today. I'm hoping maybe if Jagex has time in the future, we could get this section reopened, as I think it's a lot cooler than just the river. Number 6. The Church of You. So, the Church of You was originally proposed at RuneFest 2013. It was an update that would literally make your player into a god. Modmark said the team had an interest in creating a piece of content where your players worship by others. In this church, you'd have things like statues, NPC followers that could complete tasks for you, content that would change each week or month, such as the people who come to your church, and everyone's church would be different. Seeing as how it was never actually released, that's sadly all we really know about it.
You know, you're the guys that deserve the worship. And genuinely, I want to get down on my knees.
Number 5. New random events. Throughout the course of RuneScape's history, random events have come and go. There's been so many I could probably just do a video about the ones that pretty much everyone has forgotten. These two, however, never actually got released to the public. The first of those was the Duke of Bridgelum. It involved going to the World of Scape Room to help the Duke reassemble dead cows. As you can guess, the random event got scrapped because testers thought the dismembered cows were a little bit too grotesque. This really just shows how times have changed. Just a few years ago, in RuneScape 3's Halloween event, you had to sift through vats of blood for body parts, which was actually pretty disgusting compared to this. Anyway, the reward for this event was going to be the cow outfit. Luckily for those that wanted it, the outfit did eventually make its way into old school RuneScape in its yearly birthday events. Moving on to the second event is Sebastian No. No is referred to as the fastest gnome in the world and was originally going to be released alongside a few other random events such as Evil Bob and the Sandwich Lady. The update rolled around that added all these random events, but for some reason Sebastian didn't make it. Jagex only ever mentioned him once and never gave a reason as to why the event was scrapped, but we do have pictures of where it would have taken place. Number 4. Bank Bidders. This was an interesting concept that I'm kind of disappointed never actually got released. It was first teased at RuneFest 2016 as a personal project that Mod Osborne was working on in his free time. Basically what it was an update that would allow players to bid on and win the contents of banned accounts' banks. It was originally announced for possible release in November 2016, pushed back to February 2017 and turned into a 2-week event, and then finally postponed. Eventually, it was cancelled on July 7th, 2017. Before it was cancelled, there was going to be 2 forms of bank bidding. First was raffling, and second was blind bidding. In raffling, players would enter tickets for which account's bank they wanted, with the winner being drawn and announced on a livestream. In blind bidding, 5 accounts with their names removed would be displayed. Each account's wealth would be determined by their 25 most valuable item stacks. Whoever bid the most on each account would win its bank. Overall, this just seemed like it would have been a really cool event, and a good way to get some discontinued rares back into circulation. There's literally hundreds upon thousands of party hats sitting in some of these banned accounts that nobody else will ever be able to use. Number 3. The Underwater City. This is an update that hasn't been officially cancelled, but it appears to have been abandoned for a few years now. It was first mentioned by Guthix in issue 24 of the God Letters. It's described as a city submerged in an ocean at an unknown date and was eventually forgotten. Its inhabitants supposedly still live there and are trying to re-establish contact with the rest of the world. The second time it was mentioned was by Jagex developers in a November 1st, 2012 livestream, hinting that the Pirate Quest series could involve the Underwater City. Other than that, it's referenced a few more times. Most notably in a conversation with a sock puppet named Socky McGee. The puppet tells you that you, the player, has already raised the city back up to land. It could be hinting that a quest where you raise the city up could release in the future, but at the same time, Socky says you've already raised it. Regardless, it looks like as of right now this update has been cancelled, as the last reference to it is the dialogue with the sock puppet, which was released almost 2 years ago now. Sadly, all we have is this amazing piece of concept art. Number 2. A RuneScape movie. I've talked about this in the past, but I figured it was worth mentioning again. Video game movies, for the most part, never really seemed to be that great. Regardless of that, there was somewhat of a demand for a RuneScape one, seeing as how popular the game was back in 2007. This is when Jagex first teased the creation of a full-length RuneScape film by polling the community on who the actors should be. They wanted actors for the Wise Old Man and the Sandwich Lady. In the end, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Angelina Jolie won the poll. Talk about the movie calmed down and wasn't mentioned again until 2009 when someone asked Mod MMG during a Q&A if Jagex would be willing to make a film or cartoon version of RuneScape. Mod MMG responded by saying, "Yes, indeed, we are talking to a number of people about doing a film of some of our games. I expect this would be a full feature film rather than some sort of cartoon." Sadly, just a month later when Andrew Gower was asked about it, he said it was unlikely that it was going to be made. Again, another 2 years go by with absolutely no news about the film. That was until 2011, when Jagex gained a new investor by the name of Rune. In a Financial Times article, it stated, one option being explored with Jagex is to turn RuneScape, the company's popular multiplayer online game, into a movie developed by Hasbro Studios, the film development arm of Hasbro the toy company. Sadly, it appears that it never really panned out. What I find really cool though is that multiple points in history, the idea of a RuneScape movie was actually being taken seriously. With movies like Warcraft being released, I feel like the possibility of a RuneScape movie could become a reality again. Plus, with how much Jagex has profited off of RuneScape these past few years, I think they could more than cover the costs. Number 1. God Boxheads. The title of this video is going to make a lot more sense when you see the screenshot. There's honestly not too much to say, so here you go. This was almost added to RuneScape.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
So now that you've seen that, you probably want a little backstory. So originally, these box heads were created back in 2015 for RuneFest. They were given out in the form of paper crafts and bobbleheads, which in my opinion is a very cool idea. What wasn't a cool idea, however, is adding them into the game, which, unless there wasn't so much backlash from the community, was actually going to happen. It was going to be released alongside the Kindred Spirits quest as a cosmetic override for the head slot. Out of all the updates on this list, this is the one that I 100% did not want to happen. Well, that's it for this video. As always, here's a huge shout out to my Patreon supporters. And before you all go, don't forget to drop a like and maybe watch another video. Regardless of what you do, I will see you in the next one.